Good morning, fight fans. How are y'all doing? Mike of Fights with Friends. Of course, we were just talking about the Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson fight coming up very soon here on the 29th. And we were talking about, will Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier fight for a third time before Daniel Cormier leaves the sport? Daniel Cormier said he would not like to fight past 40. He basically has, the time to have one more fight before he retires, and that is assumed to be Brock Lesnar. At least that's the fight that he wants it to be. That's the money fight, and, we all were, I think, kind of in agreement that, who can blame him? He earned it throughout his career. If he doesn't want to fight Jon Jones, he shouldn't have to, and he earned the big money fight. But Jon Jones decided, he was drunk tweeting up in the middle of the night, snorting Ambien with Roseanne Barr somewhere, and decided to, before this, if you go to his Twitter, you can see where he called Daniel Cormier a big baby, and Daniel Cormier had responded to Jon Jones, of course, saying that if you took the amount of tests of steroids that he tested positive for that was in his body, it would be like a small amount inside an Olympic swimming pool, whatever. He keeps throwing that out there. He's the only one that I've heard say that. Now, maybe somebody else has said, I don't know. I'm kind of tired of hearing the quote, to be honest. But, so he throws out this tweet, though. I like this. I find this very interesting. He says to Daniel, fight me one more time and prove you're actually the champ. He's not even going to admit he's a champion. You don't even have a belt. I'm not, even though I'm about to fight for that belt, I'm not going to admit that you were ever the champ. I'll donate $100,000 to a charity in San Diego if you accept. I like this. I don't know if I like the way that Jon Jones is going after this, but this might be the only way to get Daniel Cormier to take the bait. So if that's the case, I do want to see this fight. And $100,000 to a charity in San Diego, I'm assuming it's a good charity. It's probably like a San Diego Zoo or something to do with like helping Children's Hospital or something. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And at the end of the day, I mean, we all think of Daniel Cormier, as I think we should, as a pretty good guy. He's a good family guy. He's a good dad. He keeps his nose clean. We'd all be pretty surprised if we seen something crazy come up on Daniel Cormier's record. And honestly, I don't think he has the time for it. And Jon Jones, on the other hand, as much as he's had issues, with partying, different things, self-proclaimed bad boy, all these different things. He's a good person, I think. At the end of the day, I think he would like to help people. I think he enjoyed doing that community service. I think he likes the fact that, he hopefully had a positive influence on some young people and was able to, display that you can come back from adversity. But then he says Conor McGregor was an actual double champ. That's interesting. Technically, he was. He had 2 belts. He won them against Jose Aldo and Eddie Alvarez. No one contests those bouts. No one contests the fact that he won those bouts clean. There's nobody out there saying that, there's a test missing, as in the point, Brock Lesnar recently, or that there was anything shady about anything in the testing, anything like that. So he did win those 2 championship belts, even if he never defended them. Conor McGregor's never defended a belt in his life, of course, but that's another subject. It says Conor McGregor was an actual double champ. The whole world knows your claim is a freaking joke. You're more than welcome to be my first title defense. Well, I believe technically Daniel Cormier is the light heavyweight champion until these two get in the cage, Jon Jones and Alexander Gustafsson. But it's not like Daniel Cormier said, as Jon Jones alludes to in other tweets on here, if you go back on his timeline, that he was too scared to fight Jon Jones, and that's why he's relinquishing the belt. It's like, no, the UFC said, no, you can't really defend both of these belts at the same time. It's just, it's too much. You can't hold up a division. We have this guy, our superstar, coming back, and Jon Jones. That's a huge part of it, and we'd like for him to get the ability to redeem himself and come back and win his old championship against a guy that pushed him to a brink that he's never been pushed to before. So, all right, that's what the UFC's case was, and I'm fine with that. It's interesting that Jon thinks he has to come after Daniel in this way, but like I said, this is probably good for the sport in the long run, because this maybe pushes that rematch. He's getting underneath Daniel Cormier's skin. He's digging underneath it. But is this what he should be doing right now? Coming in to a rematch with what I'm pretty sure we all agree was his toughest opponent in his career, even if it was 5 years ago. He needs to take Alexander Gustafsson seriously. There's always this fight psychology argument, and we've had this with Conor McGregor. A guy needs to concentrate. The old adage is the guy needs to concentrate on the guy in front of him. If he's talking about other fights, then that means he's distracted. Well, we've seen some fighters like Conor McGregor, was able to call out numerous people in the build-up to Jose Aldo and Eddie Alvarez, and was not only not distracted by it, I think he was emboldened by it. I think it was motivating to him, and he needs those things to motivate him. I think he had a lack of motivation here recently, and maybe still does, going into that Khabib Nurmagomedov fight and afterwards. Jon Jones, same kind of cat, I believe. He needs that kind of motivation. So, coming into the Alexander Gustafsson fight, he knows he's going to make some money. He's going to make he's going to make millions of dollars. I don't know how many millions, but even he says, he's going to make millions of dollars. We all know that. I don't know what the exact amount will be, but it'll be over $3 million, I'm sure. Now, to motivate himself, he wants to say Daniel Cormier is not a rival, that they didn't even have a rivalry, but for the things that they've said about each other, Daniel Cormier continuing calling Jon Jones a pussy, Jon Jones actually saying off camera, I would literally kill you, when he thought mics were not on at ESPN, allegedly. The pushing, this guy needs things to motivate him. I think that's why he pushed Alexander Gustafsson at the weigh-in. Not just to build the fight, not just to build the hype, but I think he needs those things to motivate himself, and he was probably a little disappointed that he didn't get the reaction out of Gustafsson that he would have liked. Because I think he wanted a reason to be upset with Gustafsson. Gustafsson's kind of this cool, laid-back kind of guy, and he really doesn't give you a whole lot to light that fire. So I think Jones, he wanted to throw a little match in there and see if he could ignite something. And, maybe smart on his part, like I said, if that's what he needs to get himself up at the end of the day. Maybe he should just rewatch that first fight a couple times like we did last night. And maybe that should be enough fire underneath him. But I want to know what you guys think. Will Daniel Cormier fight Jon Jones? Assuming Jon Jones gets through Alexander Gustafsson, and that is a big assumption. Is this the biggest fight out there for Jon Jones? This says that he continues to stay at light heavyweight. It seems that he would be calling Daniel Cormier at light heavyweight, which I really don't see that fight happening at a light heavyweight. And I think the money pool at the end of the day is going to be much bigger for Jon Jones at heavyweight. And I think Dana's going to sit him down and say, hey, listen, you care about your legacy, you care about money, you care about putting on the biggest sporting event you want to put, the best storyline out there, you move up to heavyweight, fight this guy at his weight, talk a bunch of trash about how, you took one of his belts. Now you're going to move up and take his other belt so he can't have any belts. I mean, you could do some great promos on that. And Jon Jones, he could get his creative marketing team together. I'm sure he's probably creative enough himself to do a lot of cool stuff on Twitter with that, about him taking Daniel Cormier's heavyweight championship belt, different things, and Daniel Cormier coming back at him, because people love the trash talk between these two. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this is a smart move on Jon Jones' part? Do you think maybe, he had a few too many drinks one night? Do you want to see that fight? Some of you I know do. Are there some of you that aren't interested in the fight? And is this ill-advised of Jon Jones to even be thinking about Daniel Cormier less than 2 weeks before he gets in there with an absolute killer? Let me know down there in the comments. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, make sure you ring the bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video or go live. Until next time, as always, I love you, I respect you, and I'll see your fine asses later.